What it is, Facebook and Cambridge Analytica. The internet is lit up. The mainstream legacy media is freaking out. Cambridge Analytica just suspended by Facebook. Notably, they were the firm that's gotten some of the blame for getting our president Donald Trump elected. Do you think that might have something to do with it? I have a suspicion. Let me show you the headlines and then ask some questions and tell you if it was a data breach or if it's standard operating procedure for a platform we willingly give our information to. Here's some of the headlines. From The Guardian, revealed 50 million Facebook profiles harvested for Cambridge Analytica in major data breach. Data breach. How Trump consultants exploited the Facebook data of millions. U.S. and British lawmakers demand answers from Facebook chief executive Mark Zuckerberg. This is what it's all about. On Friday, Facebook announced on their site that they were suspending Cambridge Analytica and the SCL group from Facebook. Now, this is the company that involved Robert Mercer, billionaire Trump supporter Robert Mercer, as well as Steve Bannon, who came in to advise them and use their system to try to get people to vote for Donald Trump. That was their mission. This statement says that they broke some rules. Let me tell you what Cambridge Analytica was all about. First, let me tell you how this show is sponsored. I make t-shirts and I sell them. This one's called Truth Matters. We have other ones like Russian Bot, Mostly Real. You can find those at truthclothing.io. Usually I show people what that website looks like so you can see it. This is my website. We print these shirts here in California. Very, very nice shirts. Everybody loves them. It supports the show is the main thing, and we need your support more than ever. Truth Matters. That's how you can support it. It wasn't a data breach. I'm going to tell you all about that. Here's an article here from TechCrunch, which admits as much. Cambridge Analytica debacle is not a Facebook data breach, but maybe it should be. Now, TechCrunch goes on to say, yes, people willingly gave their information. People willingly post their public information on Facebook, and anyone could go through with their own artificial intelligence and find out all kinds of things based on information willingly shared with the platform. This is the response from this particular editorial piece. This is a call to amend our current data breach notification laws to encompass personal data obtained through social engineering as a recognized form of data breach. I forgot to tell you. The study they were doing, the way this data was collected was through an app, which people gave their permission to, which was being used by a guy at Cambridge to develop psychographic profiling based on likes, friends, location, etc. That information was passed along to Cambridge Analytica. 270,000 people willingly gave their permission to an app they signed up for. Their data was harvested. It may have included the data of all their friends because they gave permission to do that. That information was passed on in a way that Facebook now says was against the rules to Cambridge Analytica, who used the information however they used it. Later on, a whistleblower came out from Cambridge Analytica and talked about the company and how they are a social engineering company, that they're kind of like an intelligence service. They use advertising techniques rather than simple political campaign techniques because advertisers are more sophisticated to target individuals and show them things that might make them think things to do things the same way advertisers do. That information, Facebook said, they had to delete it. And they said they did. Now, Facebook says they didn't get rid of that information, so that's why they were terminated. Now, in regards to the data breach, Facebook has a reply already to that, and they said a little bit more. They said in this update, the claim that this is a data breach is completely false. Alexander Kogan, this researcher at Cambridge, requested and gained access to information from users who chose to sign up for his app, and everyone involved gave their consent. People knowingly provided their information, no systems were infiltrated, and no passwords or sensitive pieces of information were stolen or hacked. Well, you should have seen the reaction to them saying that on Twitter and other platforms. People are up in arms. And you know why? Because it got Donald Trump elected. Liberals think, let me remind you, in this country, there's a whole half of the country that doesn't understand how Donald Trump got elected. Not only do they hate him, but they don't understand, and they need to blame something other than the other half of America. They think it's impossible that half of Americans could be so stupid, and they must have been misled, or they must have been socially engineered to vote for Trump. That's what this is all about. That's what it's all about. And Facebook is in a pickle right now because they are being pressured by these crazy Marxist liberal outlets to do what? This was publicly available information available to any API, any developer, because that's what Facebook does. That's actually what they do, as pointed out in this article from The Guardian. A company could legitimately collect Facebook data for one purpose before being bought by another firm, which uses the information for entirely different ends. Given the vast scale of Facebook ecosystem, it seems likely that other firms could have inherited data. Facebook may also find its users asking uncomfortable questions about the social network's use of data. When the company talks to politicians, it makes a big deal out of its ability to accurately profile voters using the information they give to the site. Facebook can, it tells those seeking election, separate out the users who are actively engaged with public political content and have a high propensity to reshare content. It has boasted about how effective its own political advertising wing has been. Facebook was quote-unquote integral to the 2015 presidential election victory of Poland's Andrzej Duda, the company claimed. It has cited the Scottish National Party's powerful combination of Facebook's targeting and engagement tools as quote, being responsible for its overwhelming victory in the 2015 general election. And this article points out the language and the claims are very similar to those used by entities such as Cambridge Analytica. If Hillary Clinton was not using these publicly available tools to any app developer, that is Hillary Clinton dropping the ball. But we are guessing that this is used all over the world, as Cambridge Analytica will tell you. They've won presidential campaigns in all kinds of third world countries where the rules are even more lax on privacy. This guy on Twitter gives the best breakdown of what this was. This is from Privacy Coach, at Privacy Coach Pro. It's clear this was not a Facebook data breach because the data was not stolen or hacked. It was handed to Cambridge Analytica the same way it is handed to any Facebook API partner. It's worse than a breach. It's standard operating procedure. Everyone who is authorized into an app with Facebook has agreed to share a list of data about you and often your friends. The developer gets to download and hold this data. I've done it myself. The only limit on storage use is agreement. This flare-up is likely one of tens of thousands of violations. It's unsupervised access to astounding data in competitive ad tech world. Are you expecting restraint? Forget it. Even if no external devs did or would get access, the Facebook as a platform, aka their entire business, is pay-per-use, self-service access to the full data set. 2 billion people versus 50 million in this case. are you going to hear anyone in the mainstream media admit that this is what Facebook is designed for? You don't pay to use it because they're selling your information. This is not a data breach. This only has to do with Donald Trump winning the election, just as most of this fascist activity from the left, from the mainstream media, is related to the election of Donald Trump as our president. They must stifle dissent from their beliefs. They must stifle dissent. That's the way it works. You have to have only the voices supporting the causes you support. This is what we're seeing on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter. People are being judged for their political activity, for whether they support the status quo. And if they don't go along the lines like Cambridge Analytica and supporting Donald Trump, then they get booted. Facebook tried to do something to get ahead of it and get rid of this Republican-leaning outlet, and now it blew up in their face. And now what are people going to do? If Facebook were to respond appropriately, we'd actually get more privacy, believe it or not. What they want is more humans deciding who can get access to the features of their application. It's a type of social credit score where only if you pass the test are you allowed to use the features of the platform. If you're a Donald Trump supporter at this time, you are not deemed, you're not given access to these platforms in the way that others are given access to these platforms with a higher social credit score. You notice now a lot of these platforms say that you can be banned for activity outside of their platform. They can follow you around and just determine, based on your behavior, decide whether you can use all the features of their platform or not. For example, I can't live stream this show on Periscope, nor on Facebook, nor on YouTube, but I'll be back. I'll be back tomorrow, live from this channel, Lift the Veil Live. If you're watching me on BitChute or DTube, thank you so much. Give me a thumbs up, re-steam me. Catch me on Twitch for live shows when I'm not on YouTube. That's twitch.tv/lifttheveil411. And get some t-shirts. I'm telling you, you'll like them at truthclothing.io. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for thinking critically. Thanks for ignoring these mainstream media headlines. It's all a bunch of hype. That is what it is.